Started. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 2:33 p.m. And request that our clerk read the announcement for COVID-19 and public comment procedures and the Metro Cable 14 replay statement.
Absolutely. Good afternoon. In compliance with the directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, this meeting is live streaming closed to in-person public participation. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in queue for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter. When the chair opens public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, callers will be transferred from the queue into the meeting to make a verbal comment. Written comments are always accepted. Please send your email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net, and your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T U-verse cable systems. The live meeting can also be heard free on KUBU Radio 96.5 FM. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.net and will replay on Saturday, September 4th at 3 p.m. on Metro Cable 14. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14.
Wonderful. Thank you, Clerk. Clerk, would you please take roll?
Absolutely. Member Cerna. Member Nava.
Here.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I've got my, here we go. Member Kennedy.
It's the names that are highlighted.
Oh, just the, okay, I apologize.
Supervisor Kennedy is his alternate here.
Member Riley.
Here.
I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if that was a, let me see, okay, I do see Keaton Riley on board. And Member McCarthy Olmsted.
Here.
Member Hedges.
Here.
Member Natoli. Member Schaefer.
Here.
Member Spies.
Here.
Member Chellam-Shirla. Member Gatewood. Member Paraset.
Here.
Member Poyo-Mu. And Member Brown.
Here.
And you do have a quorum.
Thank you, Clerk. So can you please read the first item into the record?
Absolutely. The first agenda item is resolution number 2021-016, adopting the fiscal year 2021 through 22 final general fund 094A budget, and resolution number 2021-017, adopting the fiscal year 2021 through 22 final PEG fee fund 094B budget.
Thanks. I'll turn this over to our Executive Director, Bob Davison.
Thank you, Chair Hedges. I have a short presentation on the fiscal year 21-22 final budget for both the general fund and the PEG fund, 94A and 94B. Now, first of all, I'm just going to point out the differences between proposed budget and final budget, what the changes are. And there are a few. I'm hearing a beep, but anyway. The proposed budget did not, first of all, the proposed budget didn't include the channel licensee cost of living adjustment, or COLA, because at that time the county hadn't awarded its COLA to employee, and based on the commission's COLA policy, the channel licensee COLA builds on the county COLA and adds the minimum wage cost and payroll cost for minimum wage employees on top of the county COLA. So fortunately, the COLAs did get awarded between proposed and final budget. And so we know that the county COLA for general staff was 2%. And with that, we've calculated the COLA for channel licensees, and that amounts to 2.89%. So one of the changes in the budget is to add the 2.89% to the general fund base and the PEG base also that's allocated to channel licensees. In reviewing the COLA this year, I just this is just to report out. We did discover an error was made in last year's COLA, where we overstated the COLA by about 1.5%. We're not recommending any adjustment to last year's budget. That's money that's already been awarded and was approved. But just for full disclosure, we're letting your board know that we did find that error. We scrutinized the formula this year. So we're very certain that any error was not made in this year's calculation, and so I just wanted to report that. One other item that we already informed your board about was that the revenue distribution that was paid in June to member agencies was there was the Department of Finance numbers for populations. We used in the proposed budget, we used, or actually in the proposed revenue distribution that was presented to the board, we used Department of Finance numbers that were a year old. In consult with Commission Counsel, we, based on Commission policies that the revenue distribution be paid out based upon the latest Department of Finance numbers, we paid the actual revenue distribution out on the newest Department of Finance numbers. And we needed to come to the board, let you know about that change, and by adopting today's final budget, you're adopting the entirety of the package, and so you would also be ratifying that change. Now, other changes that I'll just point out really quickly. So first I'm going to talk about the changes to the general fund budget from proposed and then to the PEG fund. For the general fund, the carry forward fund balance was reduced by $291,000. And this is based upon a correction that was made, that the county actually finally made to our commission funds. This has been an issue that's been ongoing, but the county made some adjustments to our books that we did not agree with. And the county was really good to work with on this, so this is not a complaint, but we were going back and forth on this for quite a while. We had our auditors involved. And if you might remember during budget a couple of years ago, we had some adjustments we had to make because of those changes. Well, now we worked with the county, finally determined that those adjustments should be reversed, and the county, towards the end of the fiscal year, or the last half of the fiscal year anyway, made those changes, and what the result was a $291,000 reduction in our carry forward fund balance. This was partially offset by a $100,000 reduction in the line item for prior year adjustment. So the net effect of that was $191,000. Also, closed captioning is increased by $25,000. This is due to all the public meetings that are happening right now, especially on these Zoom and other forums. What we are finding is that number of meeting and hours of meetings is going up by about 25% from previous years. So, with that, we want to adjust the budget to make sure we have enough room in there to record all the important meetings. The increase in the channel licensee COLA base is about $40,000 due to the COLA, and the fiscal year revenue distribution, because of all these changes, will be reduced by about $275,000. And with that, that's the changes to the general fund budget. For the PEG fund, the carry forward fund balance is increased as opposed to decrease, which is what happened with the general fund, by $497,000. About $150,000 of this was due to a PEG project for Rancho Cordova that was going to get paid at the end of the last fiscal year, and it didn't get paid, so that $150,000 carried forward in the fund balance to this year, and that actually already got paid in August. But that shows up as an increase in the carry forward, as well as, just like in the general fund, the county reversal of these past errors also resulted in a increase in the PEG fund balance of just over $300,000. And so with that, we're we increased the contingency line item by that amount so that the budget balances out. I believe that's all the changes that I was going to report for the general fund and the PEG fund. With that, me or staff can certainly answer any questions that you have. and I'm recommending that you adopt the two resolutions adopting the general fund and the PEG fund budgets. The First Amendment to the pro forma agreement with the channel licensees, which acknowledges the COLA, and then all exhibits and attachments and the staff report itself. And certainly can answer any questions that you might have.
Does anybody have any questions before we go to public comment? All right, hearing none, I'll go ahead and open public comment. I want to make a quick announcement that since in-person attendance was not permitted today, comments submitted by the public will be read into the record. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to phone in to make verbal comments during the meeting. Clerk, do we have any written or phone calls in?
No, we do not have any written or phone calls in on this item as of yet.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and close public comment then, and we'll begin board deliberation. I'll go ahead and start just by saying I applaud staff for the work that's put into this item. I also want to note that we are enormously reliant on our cable TV franchise fees, and I'd also like to praise staff, their conservative approach to our budget. I remain pretty deeply concerned about the amount of people that I think are cutting the cord going forward from now and into the future, and the impact that could potentially have on our budget. So, definitely want to, from my perspective, keep staff at the keep going on this conservative approach and make sure that we are able to sustain ourselves going into the future with uncertain revenue potentially in years to come. So, thank you, staff, for the work you put into this. Does anybody have any comments going forward before we make a motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution number 2021-016, adopting the fiscal year 2021-22 final general budget, and resolution number 2021-017, adopting the final PEG fee fund to include all exhibits, agreements, and resolutions included with the staff report. Does anybody have a motion to
adopt?
Tim Schaefer. Say your name when you make a motion, please.
Yes. Tim Schaefer moves to adopt.
Thank you, Tim.
Ryan Brown seconds.
Thank you, Ryan. So we have a motion by Tim Schaefer and a second by Ryan Brown. Clerk, can you take the roll for the vote?
Member Nava?
Yes.
Thank you. And Riley?
Yes.
McCarthy Olmsted?
Yes.
Thank you. Member Hedges?
Yes.
Member Natoli? Member Schaefer?
Yes.
Spees?
Yes.
Shalom Shirla? Member Gatewood? Member Paraset?
Yes.
Member Poyo Mu?
Yes.
And Member Brown?
Yes.
And the motion carries with those members present.
Thank you, Clerk. Would you please read item number 2 into the record?
Yes, sir. Item number 2 is to review and provide feedback on the draft revised JPA agreement and the draft revised bylaws of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, thank you, Bob Davison again. And as you're aware, and as we have discussed at previous commission meetings, the commission is currently set to sunset in December of 2024. At a meeting last year, the board expressed its interest in extending the commission rather than having it sunset in December of 2024. So at that time, and I believe that meeting was just before COVID or when COVID was early, we were talking about going to member agencies and having a discussion and bringing that feedback back to you. We haven't done that yet, but we do plan to do that over the next several months. And But as part of the conversation, it's also going to be necessary to have the member agencies adopt ordinance amendments to extend the JPA, because the JPA agreement is seated in the Sacramento County cable ordinance and also in the ordinances of the member agencies. So in order to change the JPA and the ordinance, it's necessary for each of the member agencies to adopt at their boards or councils amendments to the JPA. So with that, so we have a draft of both changes to the JPA, the cable ordinance, and also the bylaws, which Harriet can correct me, but I don't believe the member agencies need to adopt the changes to the bylaws. Is that?
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you. So with that, we have before you drafts of those documents. And at this time, can I ask Cable Commission staff to put the... we also emailed you changes to this item that typically we'd put up at the dais, but given a virtual meeting, we emailed you the changes, and we're also projecting them on the screen, which is also projecting on the TV. I'll explain the change in amendment in a minute, but first what I'll do is I'll just go through and outline the changes that we're proposing to the ordinance, the JPA and agreement, and the bylaws. So first of all, the term, the main reason for doing this is to move the sunset date. And the sunset date is removed, and the commission would, the proposed changes would have the commission remain in existence until 2/3 of the member agencies vote to terminate the commission. And if there's any input on this, before we go out to member agencies, certainly we'd like to hear that from your board. Officers. The current agreement, and remember this agreement was approved a long time ago and could only be changed by all the member agencies adopting these ordinance amendments. So it does not change very much. The last time we changed it was, I think, in about 2008 when the PEG fees were implemented. But anyway, the current agreement and ordinance assumes that the clerk, the auditor, and the treasurer services are provided by the county. Well, since then, the clerk services are provided by commission staff, but in coordination with the county. And we have actually county assistants today with the clerk helping us at the meeting, and the county provides a great help there. As far as auditor services, we were told by the auditor that due to legal reasons that the county auditor could no longer be the auditor for the commission. And so the commission's auditor is now a consultant that is retained by the commission, a certified public accountant audit and an auditing firm. An auditing firm that includes certified public accountants. And then also, as far as treasurer services, those are provided by the county, but we're proposing changes so that these services no longer are in the agreement ordinance to be provided by the county, which provides the commission board the flexibility to determine how to provide these officers. The payments also have changed to match currently what we do. As your board knows, in June of every year, we have our June budget meeting. At that time, we look at the revenue we've received, and kind of on top of what Chair Hedges was saying earlier, we try to be conservative. So at that time, that we actually disseminate more money to our member agencies than we budgeted for. And I think almost every year it's been more. A couple of years it's been close. But so the process is in June, we go to the June budget meeting, an appropriations adjustment is approved, and then later in June, we provide the revenue distributions to the member agencies, and that is also based on the latest Department of Finance numbers. So the JPA ordinance and agreement and bylaws had some antiquated language. And so we've updated the payment terms consistent with what we do rather than what was in the ordinance. Also, the current ordinance and amendment required that we have an audit of the distribution every year. We don't do that. We biannually audit the commission, and that's part of that audit. But we don't perform an audit before we disseminate the money to the member agencies, and we don't recommend doing so. And so that's also one of the changes to to this ordinance that we're making. So with that, I want to explain all of the yellow. As we've talked about at several recent meetings, the threshold for one of the current member agencies to have their own seat is 80,000. So recently, Folsom achieved that threshold, and so now the last small seat on this board is shared by Galt and Rancho Cordova, and we know that Rancho Cordova's population is approaching 80,000. So originally, we had drafted this ordinance to basically take out all the discussion of the 80,000 and just set the board at how the board would be set when Rancho Cordova achieves 80,000, which would essentially be all the current members having their own board members, including 3 for the City of Sacramento and 5 for the County of Sacramento. But actually, in the recent week, we had a discussion with Commission Counsel, Harriet Steiner, who pointed out that there could be future incorporations, and we had not contemplated that when we drafted these changes, but an area like Art and Arcade could decide to incorporate. And if they did, then we would have to amend the JPA to allow them to participate in the board. So, given that discussion, we felt that rather than removing all of this language related to the board members and the 80,000 threshold, that we should put that back in. And so that's why you see the revised ordinance before you, emailed to you, on the dais and electronically delivered. And I'm just projecting page 2 of that ordinance now because page 1 had been showing. So with that, I will ask Harriet if she wants to add anything to my comments.
No, Bob, I think you covered everything.
Are you on? You're not on.
Okay, sorry. So I think you covered everything. I think the policy issues that we'd like feedback on are the termination date and whether you want a set date like we have in the past, or what's proposed, which is no termination date, but 2/3 of the members can terminate whenever they get together and decide that that's what they want to do, or you want some different type of termination clause. And then the second part is the one that Bob was just talking about, whether you want to keep the board set or whether you want to leave the old language that was put in here originally when Citrus Heights Incorporated, and continue that on just to make just so that should there be another incorporation, you have the framework in the document to welcome that new city into the commission. And those would be my only additions, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Harriet or Bob? Hearing none, I want to ask the clerk if we've received any public comment on this.
No, we have not received any public comment.
Okay, then we don't need to open up public comment, and we'll move over to board deliberation. I just want to make a quick comment on my thoughts about these items. I think, the very important aspect that we're going over today is the expiration date. I think that what's proposed here is good. I think there's still a mechanism for us to be able to expire this commission if we need to. I also think that we provide a tremendous benefit to the taxpayers and the ratepayers and the people of our community by what we're doing. We're able to save money based on what we're able to do together as opposed to alone. I don't think some of the accomplishments we'd be able to make to defend the taxpayers in our area would have been possible if we were on our own. So definitely it's my intent to see this group continue forward and keep doing good things for the county at large. Are there any other comments before we move to a vote? Okay, then I will like to see a motion here that would provide commission staff with direction to reach out to member agencies, management teams to solicit their feedback and report back to the board and the management team once feedback is garnered to determine further action be taken. Is there a motion?
This is Ryan Brown, so moved.
All right, motion by Ryan Brown. Do we have a second?
Keaton
Second.
So we have a motion by Ryan Brown and a second by Michelle Parasat. Clerk, will you please read the roll?
Absolutely. Members Nava,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
McCarthy Olmsted,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Spies,
Yes.
Parasat,
Yes.
and Member Brown.
Yes.
And the motion carries with those members present.
You have to call the others. 'cause the
Thank you. Clerk, will you please read
did.
the next item into the record?
I apologize, Chair. I've been instructed that I should call some of the others who weren't in attendance at the beginning. So if you'll bear with me, if I could just call their names to get their vote. Member Natoli, Member Shalom Sherla, Member Gatewood, Member Poyo Mu.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. So now let's move on to item number 3. Clerk, can you read this into the roll?
Absolutely. Item number 3 is resolution number 2021-019, adopting the Smctc Employee Handbook for part-time, regular, and temporary employees, and resolution number 2021-020, ratifying a change to the Metro Cable Programming Coordinator position in the Smctc Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual.
Good afternoon again, Bob Davison. As you likely all remember, that at the June 3rd meeting this year, the board approved a significant change to a significant update to the policies and procedures manual for the commission staff. This was a long time coming, so that was a good accomplishment to get that done. And then a couple of items today are now that we want to implement now that that is approved. So first of all, there's a handbook before you today, and it's a handbook for our temporary and part-time employees. I'm sorry, excuse me. Our part-time, regular, and temporary employees. I just want to make sure I get that right. For which many of the policies and procedures do not apply. So, Commission Counsel, one of Harriet's partners, worked with us to create a handbook for those employees. And how it's different from the regular policies and procedures is that these employers are not entitled to paid leave other than legally required sick leave. They're not entitled to benefits other than required by law, such as a workman's comp. They are at-will employees, and also they're not entitled to parental leave and leaves of absences unless they're leaves of absences that are required by law. So this is a streamlined manual to reflect what applies to these temporary employees. And so that's one item before you today. The other is a resolution that makes minor corrections to the policies that were recently approved. First of all, overtime. So the way the policy was written is that overtime hours would not, that sick leave, vacation, holiday, and CTO hours would not count towards the 40-hour work week. And we want to make a change that's consistent with commission practice for years, is that those hours would apply for the purpose of overtime calculation. So for example, if somebody took vacation on Monday and then they were asked to work overtime on Saturday, they would be paid at the overtime rate for Saturday and not for and not straight time. So the other change is a minor change, but the probation period for the production coordinator position was approved at 6 months. And in review of the manual after it was approved, the commission staff felt that it should be 1 year, consistent with the duties and the position has compared to other commission positions that also required the 1 year probation, and those were positions that required specialized skills and such. So with that, I'm recommending that the board approve the resolution adopting the employee handbook. direct staff to disseminate that to staff, and adopt the resolution and ratifying changes to the overtime policy and the length of the probation period for the programming coordinator position.
Thank you. Does any board members have any questions? Hearing none, clerk, do we have any public comments?
No, we do not have any public comments.
Okay. Board, are there any discussion you'd like to have on this? Okay, hearing none, then I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution number 2021-019, adopting the SMCTC Employee Handbook for the part-time, regular, and temporary employees. Approve resolution number 2021-020, ratifying a change to the overtime policy and the change in length of the probation period for the Metro Cable Programming Coordinator position in the SMCTC Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, approved by the board at the June 3rd, 2021 meeting. Would somebody like to make a motion?
This is Tim Schaefer. and I
So moved.
Tim Schaefer made a motion. Is there a second?
Lisa Nava will second.
We've got a motion by Tim Schaefer, second by Lisa Nava. Clerk, can you take the roll?
Yes, absolutely. Members Nava,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
McCarthy Olmsted,
Yes.
Member Hedges,
Yes.
Member Latoli,
Aye.
and Members Schaefer,
Aye.
Spees,
Aye.
Shalom Sherla, Member Gatewood, Member Paraset,
Yes.
and Member Poyomu,
Yes.
and finally Member Brown.
Yes.
Excuse me. And the motion carries with those members present. Pardon me.
Thank you. Clerk, can you read item number 4 to the record?
Item number 4 is resolution number 2021-021, approving GSRMA Memorandum of Understanding and delegating authority for the commission chair to sign the MOU and the small group program participation agreement.
Before I go into the presentation on this, can I confirm, did Supervisor Natoli join the call?
He did, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I joined just when you started that last item, so I heard the entire staff report. Thanks.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
I'm here. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, this is item number 4, and it's the GSRMA, the Memorandum of Understanding for certain benefits. And in March, you may remember the board adopted the updated commission cafeteria plan. And at that time, the board also directed staff to bring back agreements that would implement vision, life insurance, and employee assistance program benefits for our employees. And since that time, we've worked with GSRMA, who's our risk management provider. They have a lot of expertise working with small organizations, joint powers authorities, and other governmental entities. And so they're a real good fit for the commission. So we are basically proposing the MOU that will, today's action will authorize me to execute that MOU. And with that, we will have the vision, life insurance, and employee assistance programs effective January 1st. Is that correct, Karen? Would they become effective January 1st?
They will be January 1st, 2022, but 2022, but it's to authorize our chair to sign the MOU and the agreement.
Thank you for that clarification. I wasn't trying to grab some power that I don't have. So,
Okay.
so I revised my recommendation, and I recommend that this board approve the GSRMA Memorandum of Understanding and delegate authority to the commission chair to sign the MOU and the small group program participation agreement. And if there's any questions, certainly we can entertain them.
All right. Are there any questions by anybody? No? Then let's go ahead and have a motion. I'll ask for a motion to approve resolutions number 2021-021 to delegate authority for the commission chair to sign the MOU and the small group program participation agreement offered by GSRMA. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Spees motion.
Natoli, second.
So we have a motion by Kevin Spees, second by Don Natoli. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Absolutely. Members Nava,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
McCarthy Olmsted,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Natoli,
Aye.
Spees,
Aye.
Shalom Sherla, Gatewood, Paraset,
Yes.
Poyo Mu,
Yes.
and finally Member Brown.
Yes.
And the motion passes with those members present.
Thank you, Clerk. Can you please read item number 5 into the record?
Yes. Let's see. So item number 5 is a receive and file. It's the calendar year 2022 quarterly board meeting schedule.
So this is a very simple item to set the meeting schedule for 2022. Based on commission policy, we will have 4 meetings scheduled, and they'll be on March 3rd, June 2nd, September 1st, and December 1st, all in 2022. And it's a receive and file item, so certainly that's what the recommendation is, and certainly we can answer it. Any questions on this meeting schedule if you have any?
Are there any questions from anybody? Okay, then the board will receive and file the calendar year 2022 quarterly board meeting schedule. Clerk, can you read item number 6 into the record?
Yes, sir. And just for the record, there were no public comments on item number 4 or
thank you.
5. And for item number 6, it is the general administration report.
Thank you, and I have several items to discuss. The first is that we usually do an update on the FCC in-kind proceeding, and I'll ask Harriet if she can talk about anything there that needs to be talked about.
Yeah, sure. I'll keep this short, and it would cover the in-kind proceeding, also known as the Section 621 proceeding, challenges how franchise fees are calculated, as you know. And back, I think, at your June meeting, we gave you an update of the Court of Appeal decision. Since that time, the government entities that have been part of the appeal of the FCC decision have met and recommended the filing of a petition for certiorari to the U.S. Supreme Court on several of the issues. That petition is being drafted right now. Bob, under his authority and based on prior commission action, has joined in that, has agreed to have the commission join in that petition. And we're anticipating that petition will be filed beginning of November. And other than that, on the FCC front, we're still waiting for the administration to appoint the 5th FCC member. Because right now, they're not moving major items forward because it's split half and half, Democrats and Republicans. And so we keep hoping day by day that the administration will appoint a 5th member and that the commission will start hearing some of these items like the in-kind proceeding regulations, and we'll get some movement on those as well. So with that, basically it's nothing, except for the decision to file a petition for certiorari. There hasn't been any major change in that item since last time the board met.
Thank you, Harriet. And to segue into item number 2, which is related to the item Harriet just spoke about, we've been participating in this coalition that has been litigating and fighting and commenting on the FCC in-kind proceedings and the follow-up proceedings that may happen or may not happen. And with that, we have continued to participate in the effort, and I did sign an agreement for $15,000 to basically continue our participation in the coalition. And per commission policy, when I sign such agreements, I'm required to report them to your board at the next meeting. So I'm doing that there. And also, very similarly, item number 3 is cable company audit agreements, which I have executed with the firm Oswald & Skolko. They've been auditing the cable companies for us and have been doing a great job. And so this will audit, so the agreements I signed will provide for audits of Comcast, not my, Consolidated Communications and AT&T for 2 fiscal years. So the total amount of those 3 agreements is $50,000, but they're actually 3 separate agreements. Just the total amount of the 3 is $50,000. And I have the authority to do that, but again, I need to report that at the next commission meeting, which I'm doing here. Item number 4 is the Atrium 916 agreement. Just wanted to give you a quick update. The executive director, we contacted her recently just to see where they were. And she said that they are poised to go on to the next phase of the project, which is the most exciting phase, because that's when the artists will be working on the content to provide for the artists will be competing and preparing videos that they will be submitting, and that will be the next phase of the project. So we will continue to update you on the progress of that item, which was a big part of the budget presentation last year. And then just the remainder of quarterly meetings. We're scheduled for a meeting the first Thursday in December. Based upon commission activity, especially with the JPA agreements and the working with member agencies, I expect that we will have a December meeting. So we just want to inform the board that that December meeting is likely to happen. And one other thing, just since we're talking about commission business, one thing that we didn't have is an update on BestNet. I just want to report to the commission that Liz Rhodes did reach out to me this week, and she reported that SCCC and Comcast have agreed on all deal points moving forward for an agreement for BestNet that will take care of BestNet for the future. As we reported to your commission before, the commission won't be party to that agreement or will be financially responsible for that. And this is the agreement that will carry BestNet beyond the current life of the commission, which we hope will change, but beyond the 2024 date. Anyway, Comcast is finalizing that MOU, and both Comcast and SCCC report that there's a clear path for schools moving forward after 2024. And I'm sure Executive Director Liz Rhodes, maybe in her comments today, may speak to that as well. But I just wanted to report that to you in addition to the items that I had outlined here. And with that, those are the items that I have for the General Administration Report, unless there's any questions on any of those items.
Thank you, Bob. Are there any questions from the board members? Are there any public comments, Clerk?
There are no public comments.
Okay, then let's move on to item number 7. Clerk, can you read the statements, if any, submitted by state franchisees, since in-person attendance is not permitted?
And there are no statements from the channel licensees.
Okay, let's move to item number 8. Can you read the statements, if any, for item number 8?
And likewise, there are no statements from the state licensee reports for the record.
Okay, item number 9 is general public comment. Do we have any public comments?
Nope, there are no public comments.
Easy enough. With that, then, we are adjourned at 3:17 p.m.
Wait, hold on a second.
Oh, I apologize. There is, there was one in off agenda, but the caller is no longer on the line.
Well, so the channel licensees and everyone else has the right to do oral comments on each of the agenda items. And it was our understanding that at least SCCC wanted to make oral comments on,
I wasn't
on the
sure-
last item, but we're not sure about that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to go back and give them, if they're still on the phone, or any of the other channel licensees or franchisees are still on the phone, if there's anyone who was interested in making those comments, that we could go back and take those comments before the end of the meeting.
Certainly.
Okay, and there are still no public comments, public commenters in the phone queues.
Okay, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Then with that, we're through with all of our business, and we'll go ahead and adjourn at 3:18 p.m. And thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Very much.